I was under the hood of my beat-up Honda Civic when I heard my wife's voice drifting from the kitchen window. The tone made me freeze, wrench halfway to the alternator. "He's so embarrassing, Jennifer. I can't bring him around my friends anymore. Never." My daughter Emma's laughter echoed in the background, sharp and cruel. I straightened up slowly, oil staining my hands black. 22 years of marriage, and this is what I get. A mockery session while I'm fixing the car that gets her to work every day. I mean, did you see him at the country club last week? He wore that awful polo shirt with the stain. I wanted to disappear into the floor. More laughter. My own daughter joining in. I wiped my hands on an old rag, each movement deliberate. Sarah had always been image-obsessed, but this felt different, sharper, more final. Tyler says I deserve better. He's right, you know. I've been carrying unnecessary baggage for years. Tyler. That name hit me like a sucker punch. Tyler Morrison, the golden boy of Brookline Country Club, old money, new tech fortune, and apparently my wife's shoulder to cry on. I'd suspected something was off for months. Late nights at work conferences, new clothes that cost more than my monthly salary, the way she'd angle her phone away when texting, but hearing it confirmed while I'm literally keeping our household running, that stung in a way I hadn't expected. He's taking me to dinner at that new place in Back Bay tomorrow, the one with the 3-month waiting list. I closed the hood with more force than necessary. The sound echoed through our modest Brookline neighborhood, a sharp counterpoint to Sarah's continued character assassination. 22 years. I'd left my job at the construction company when Emma was born so Sarah could focus on building her pharmaceutical sales career. Supported her through every promotion, every company change, every networking event where I stood in the corner nursing a beer while she worked the room. And this is my reward. I walked to the kitchen window and knocked. Sarah's face appeared, phone still pressed to her ear. When she saw me, her expression shifted to that fake smile she'd perfected over the years. "I have to go, Jen. Talk later." She hung up and opened the window. "Car fixed?" "For now." I held her gaze. "Who's Tyler?" The question hung between us like a loaded gun. Sarah's face went through several expressions before settling on defensive. "Tyler Morrison. He's on the club board. Why?" "Just curious. You mention him a lot lately." "He's a friend, Mike. A successful friend who understands the pressures of my job." Unlike me, she didn't say, but the implication was clear enough. "Right. Well, your successful friend might want to know that successful people usually don't schedule dinner dates with married women." Sarah's eyes flashed. "It's a business dinner." "On a Saturday night?" "Not everything is about you, Mike." She slammed the window shut, leaving me standing in the driveway with oil under my nails and a marriage dissolving around me. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Sarah slept beside me, or pretended to sleep. Her breathing was too controlled, too measured. I thought about the last few years, how I'd become invisible in my own life. Sarah's friends barely acknowledged me at social events. Emma treated me like an ATM with legs. Even my old buddies from the construction crew had drifted away, tired of my excuses for why I couldn't grab beers anymore. When had I become so small? The next morning, Sarah spent 2 hours getting ready for her business dinner. I watched her from the kitchen, sipping coffee and making mental notes. The new dress that still had tags, the perfume she only wore for special occasions, the way she checked her reflection 3 times before leaving. "Don't wait up," she said, not meeting my eyes. After she left, I did something I'd never done before. I went through her phone records online. 22 years of trust, destroyed by curiosity and a growing knot in my stomach. The numbers didn't lie. Dozens of calls to Tyler Morrison over the past 3 months, text messages at all hours, late-night conversations that lasted until 2 a.m., but it was the credit card statements that really painted the picture. Expensive restaurants I'd never been to, hotel charges in downtown Boston, lingerie purchases from stores I couldn't afford. All while I ate peanut butter sandwiches for lunch to stretch our budget. I printed everything out and spread it across the kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene, which in a way it was. The systematic murder of our marriage, documented in black and white. Emma came downstairs around noon, still in pajamas despite being home from college for the weekend. "Where's Mom?" "Business dinner, remember?" She grabbed juice from the fridge and noticed the papers. "What's all this?" "Your mother's extracurricular activities." Emma glanced at the phone records, and I saw recognition flicker across her face. Not surprise. Recognition. "You knew," I said. "Dad, You knew about Tyler." She set down the juice with shaking hands. "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because what I think is that my wife is having an affair, my daughter helped cover it up, and I've been played for a fool by the two people I trusted most. Tears started flowing down Emma's cheeks, but I felt nothing. The numbness was spreading, replacing 22 years of love and devotion with something colder. She's unhappy, Dad. She has been for years. So instead of talking to her husband, she talks to Tyler Morrison, and instead of telling me, my daughter helps her lie. I didn't want to hurt you. Well, mission accomplished there, kiddo. Emma fled upstairs, leaving me alone with the evidence of my own irrelevance. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to be the pathetic husband who begs his wife to stay. I wasn't going to be the doormat who accepts scraps of affection while she gives her best to someone else. I was going to remind everyone exactly who they were dealing with, starting with Tyler Morrison. Monday morning found me at Flanagan's boxing gym in Southie, a place I hadn't visited in 15 years. The smell hit me immediately: sweat, leather, and determination. It smelled like the person I used to be. Frank Kowalski was exactly where I expected to find him, working the heavy bag with methodical precision. 20 years as a Boston cop had given him a particular way of channeling aggression, and retirement hadn't changed that. Well, I'll be damned. Mike Chen rises from suburban hell. I winced at the name. It's Mike Sullivan now, has been for years. Right, forgot you took the wife's name. How's that working out for you? The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd changed my name to Sullivan when we got married because Sarah said it would be better for her career. More American, she'd said. Less complicated. About as well as you'd expect. Frank stopped punching and really looked at me. 22 years of friendship, even with the gaps, meant he could read my face like a book. What happened? I told him everything. The phone call, Tyler Morrison, Emma's betrayal. Frank listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or grunting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. So what's the plan? I don't have one yet. That's why I'm here. You want to beat the hell out of pretty boy Tyler, I get it, but that's not going to fix anything. Maybe not, but it'll make me feel better. Frank laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know what would make you feel better? Winning. Winning what? Everything. Your life back. Your self-respect. Your daughter's respect. He gestured around the gym. This place taught you how to fight 25 years ago. But fighting isn't just about throwing punches. It's about strategy, timing, knowing your opponent's weaknesses. Tyler Morrison doesn't have weaknesses. He's rich, successful, connected. Everyone has weaknesses, Mike. Rich boys especially. They're soft, entitled. They've never had to really fight for anything. Frank pulled out his phone and started typing. Tyler Morrison, you said. Within minutes, he'd pulled up a comprehensive social media profile. Tyler's life was an open book of privilege and excess. Photos from the country club, his downtown penthouse, expensive cars, and charity galas. Look at this guy. He's a walking target. Posts everything online, no privacy settings, probably never had to worry about real consequences for anything. I studied the photos. Tyler was everything I wasn't. Tall, perfectly groomed, expensively dressed, the kind of man who'd never worked with his hands or worried about making rent. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Tyler Morrison is about to learn what happens when you mess with someone who has nothing left to lose. Frank grinned, and for a moment, I saw the cop he used to be. Now you're talking. But we do this smart. No criminal charges, no assault cases. We destroy him legally and completely. How? Same way he's destroying you. Socially, professionally, personally. Frank's contacts from his police days were extensive and still active. Within an hour, we had Tyler Morrison's complete background. Business dealings, social connections, and most importantly, his enemies. Turns out, Tyler had plenty of those. His tech company had been built on questionable partnerships and aggressive buyouts. Several former employees had filed lawsuits that were settled out of court. His country club membership had been sponsored by his father, and there were rumors about financial irregularities in his charitable foundation. But the most interesting information came from Frank's friend who worked security at Brookline Country Club. The club owner, Patrick Donnelly, can't stand Tyler Morrison, Frank explained. Apparently, Tyler's been pushing to modernize the club, bring in younger members, change traditions that go back decades. Donnelly sees him as a threat to everything the club represents. How does that help me? Because Patrick Donnelly is old school. He respects men who work with their hands, who've earned their place in the world, and he's got the power to make Tyler's life very uncomfortable. The plan started forming in my mind. Not revenge exactly, but justice. A rebalancing of scales that had been tilted against me for too long. I need to get into that club. Already thought of that. Donnelly's looking for a new maintenance supervisor. Someone who understands the old systems, can work with his hands, knows quality when he sees it. I don't have country club experience. No, but you've got 20 years of construction experience. You're detail-oriented, and you're not Tyler Morrison. That's enough for Donnelly. That afternoon, I found myself sitting across from Patrick Donnelly in his cluttered office at Brookline Country Club. The man was exactly what I'd expected. 70s, Irish, built like a boxer gone soft around the edges. Frank says you're looking for work. I'm looking for a change. Running from something? I considered lying, but something in Donnelly's eyes told me he'd see right through it. Running towards something. My wife's having an affair with one of your members, Tyler Morrison. Donnelly's expression didn't change, but his eyes got harder. That little prick. I've been waiting for someone to take him down a peg. I'm not looking to cause trouble for the club. Son, Tyler Morrison is trouble for the club. Has been since his daddy bought him that membership 5 years ago. You taking him down would be doing me a favor. The job interview lasted 15 minutes. I started the next day. Working at the country club was like entering a different world. The members moved through their days with casual entitlement, treating the staff like furniture. But being invisible had its advantages. I could observe, listen, learn. Within a week, I knew everyone's routines. Tyler played golf every Wednesday and Friday morning. Sarah met him for lunch in the club dining room every Tuesday. They thought they were being discreet, but discretion is relative when you're paying attention. I also learned about the club's social hierarchy, the old families versus the new money, the traditionalists versus the modernizers, the careful balance of power that kept everything running smoothly. And I learned about Tyler's weaknesses. He was careless with information, talking loudly on his phone about business deals and personal matters. He was dismissive of staff, treating them like servants rather than people. And he was arrogant, convinced that his money and connections made him untouchable. All of that was about to change. The first move was subtle. Tyler's usual golf cart developed mechanical problems every time he tried to use it. Nothing major, just annoying delays that threw off his schedule and frustrated his playing partners. The second move was more direct. I started documenting his behavior towards staff, the way he snapped his fingers to get attention, the condescending tone he used with waitresses, the casual racism in his jokes. All of it went into a file that I planned to share with Patrick Donnelly at exactly the right moment. But the real breakthrough came when I overheard Tyler on the phone with someone about a business deal that sounded questionable at best, illegal at worst. That's when I knew I had him. 3 weeks into my new job, I was replacing air filters in the club's main dining room when I heard familiar voices. Sarah and Tyler, having their regular Tuesday lunch, completely oblivious to my presence 20 feet away. "He's getting suspicious," Sarah was saying. "Asked about you directly last week." "So what? What's he going to do? Challenge me to a duel?" Tyler's laugh was everything I'd expected, entitled, dismissive, cruel. "You don't understand. Mike's not stupid. He's just been dormant." "Dormant? He's a maintenance worker now, Sarah, at my club. If that doesn't tell you everything about his ambitions, I don't know what will." I kept working, hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. "I want to file for divorce," Sarah continued, "but Emma thinks we should wait until after her graduation. Emma's 22 years old. She can handle her parents' divorce. It's not that simple. Mike might fight for the house, spousal support. He gave up his career for mine, remember? Then we make sure he doesn't have grounds to fight." The conversation that followed changed everything. Tyler laid out a plan that was breathtaking in its cruelty and calculation. They would document instances of my erratic behavior, create situations where I appeared unstable or threatening, build a case for Sarah being afraid of me. "My lawyer says if we can show a pattern of intimidation or emotional abuse, you'll get everything. House, savings, even spousal support from him." But Mike's never been abusive. He doesn't have to be. He just has to look like he could be. A few documented incidents, maybe a restraining order, and he's out of your life with nothing. I finished my work and left quietly, but my hands were shaking by the time I reached the maintenance shed. 22 years of marriage, and this was how it ended. Not with honest conversation or even a clean break, but with manufactured accusations designed to destroy me completely. That evening, I called Frank. "They're going to frame me for domestic abuse." "What?" I told him about the conversation I'd overheard. Frank listened in silence, and I could practically hear him thinking. "This changes things. We can't just embarrass Tyler anymore. We have to destroy him first, before he destroys you." "How?" "Remember that phone call you overheard? The business deal?" I did. Tyler had been discussing something about FDA approvals and expedited reviews, numbers that didn't add up and timelines that seemed impossible. I think your boy Tyler is involved in some pharmaceutical insider trading, and if your wife is in pharmaceutical sales, the implication hit me like a truck. Sarah's recent success, the expensive clothes, the confidence that she could divorce me and keep everything, it all made sense if she was feeding Tyler inside information about drug approvals and FDA decisions. We need proof. Leave that to me. You just keep doing what you're doing. But Mike, be careful. If they're planning to frame you, they're going to start creating situations soon. Frank was right. The setup began the very next day. I was cleaning the pool area when Sarah arrived for her usual lunch with Tyler, but instead of going inside, she approached me directly. Mike, what are you doing here? I looked up from skimming leaves, noting the small audience that had gathered. Other club members, staff, people who could serve as witnesses. Working. It's what people do during the day. You're following me. The accusation was so unexpected, so perfectly calculated, that I almost admired its audacity. Almost. I work here, Sarah. You eat here. Sometimes those things overlap. This is harassment, Mike. I want you to leave me alone. Her voice was getting louder, more emotional. Tyler appeared from nowhere, playing the concerned friend perfectly. Is there a problem here, Sarah? My husband is stalking me. He got a job here just to spy on me. I stood up slowly, keeping my movements deliberate and non-threatening. The audience was growing, and I could see phones being pulled out. This was being recorded. I got a job here because I needed work. The fact that my wife chooses to eat here isn't my concern. Don't lie to me. Sarah's performance was Oscar-worthy. You've been watching me, following me, trying to intimidate me. Tyler stepped between us, the protective hero. Maybe you should leave, buddy. Maybe you should mind your own business. Sarah is my business. She's my friend, and she's scared of you. That's when I realized how perfectly they'd set this up. Tyler positioning himself as Sarah's protector, Sarah playing the frightened wife, me cast as the unstable, threatening husband, but they'd made one mistake. They'd underestimated me. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app I'd been running since Sarah approached. Sarah, for the record, are you claiming that I've threatened you physically? You don't have to threaten me. Your presence is threatening enough. Have I ever laid a hand on you in 22 years of marriage? Physical abuse isn't the only kind of abuse, Mike. What other kind of abuse have I subjected you to? Tyler tried to interrupt, but I kept going. I'm asking my wife a direct question. What abuse are you referring to? Sarah faltered. She hadn't expected me to push back, to demand specifics in front of witnesses. Emotional manipulation, financial control, isolation from my friends. Which friends? The friends you just told Jennifer last week that you can't stand? Or the friends who only know you as Tyler's girlfriend? The color drained from Sarah's face. She hadn't expected me to know about that conversation. Tyler stepped forward aggressively. That's enough. You need to leave. Actually, I need to get back to work. Unlike some people, I have a job to do. I walked away, leaving them standing there with their carefully planned confrontation in ruins. But I knew it was just the beginning. That night, Emma called. Dad, what happened at the club today? Mom's really upset. Your mother tried to set me up for a harassment charge. It didn't go as planned. Dad, you can't keep doing this. You're scaring her. Emma, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your mother and Tyler Morrison are planning to frame me for domestic abuse so she can divorce me and take everything. They're using you as part of their justification. Silence on the other end. That's crazy, Dad. Is it? When's the last time your mother seemed genuinely afraid of me? When's the last time I raised my voice, lost my temper, or did anything that could be considered threatening? More silence. She loves you, Dad. She's just unhappy. She loves Tyler Morrison, and she's about to destroy your father to be with him. I hung up, knowing I'd probably lost my daughter too, but there was no turning back now. The war had begun. The next few days passed in tense quiet. Sarah avoided me completely, staying at her sister's house. Emma stopped calling. Even the atmosphere at the club felt different, charged with whispered conversations and sidelong glances. But I wasn't idle. Frank's investigation into Tyler's business dealings had yielded gold, financial records showing suspicious trading patterns that aligned perfectly with FDA drug approvals, email chains discussing inside information and guaranteed returns, and most damning of all, bank records showing payments to a consulting company owned by Sarah. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was selling pharmaceutical inside information to her lover, and they were both making a fortune from it. This is federal crime territory, Frank explained over coffee at a diner in Southie. SEC violations, insider trading, possibly FDA corruption. We're talking serious prison time. What do we do with it? We give them a choice. Back off from framing you or face federal charges. They'll just deny everything? Not with the evidence we have. Tyler's been sloppy and Sarah's been greedy. Their communications are all over company servers, bank records are clear, and we've got witnesses who can testify about their relationship timeline. Frank slid a thick folder across the table. Everything's in there, enough to destroy both of them professionally and personally. That afternoon, I requested a meeting with Patrick Donnelly. The club owner listened patiently as I laid out everything, the affair, the insider trading, the plan to frame me for abuse. Jesus Christ, he muttered when I finished, and I thought Tyler was just an arrogant prick. I need your help, Mr. Donnelly. What kind of help? I want to confront them, here, at the club, in front of the people who matter to them. Donnelly leaned back in his chair, studying me. You want to destroy them publicly. I want justice. They were going to destroy me with lies. I'm going to destroy them with truth. When? The Founders' Ball is next weekend. Tyler will be there, probably with Sarah as his guest. All the club's most important members will be attending. Donnelly smiled for the first time since I'd known him. You know what? I like you, Mike. You've got balls. The Founders' Ball was Brookline Country Club's most prestigious annual event. Black tie, 5-course dinner, speeches about tradition and excellence. The kind of evening where reputations were made and destroyed. Tyler would be in his element, surrounded by the social elite he desperately wanted to impress. Sarah would be on his arm, playing the role of sophisticated girlfriend while her husband worked behind the scenes. It would be perfect. The week leading up to the ball, I prepared meticulously. Frank helped me rehearse what I would say, how I would present the evidence, what legal protections I had for making public accusations. Remember, he coached, stick to facts. Don't get emotional. Let the evidence speak for itself. What if they try to have me arrested? For what? Telling the truth? You're not threatening anyone. You're not committing any crimes. You're just sharing information that's already part of the public record. Saturday evening arrived gray and drizzly. Typical October weather in Boston. I watched from the kitchen as members arrived in their expensive cars, dressed in their finest clothes. Tyler pulled up in his Porsche at exactly 7:30. Sarah in the passenger seat wearing a dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. They looked perfect together. Rich, successful, untouchable. That was about to change. I waited until after dinner, during the speeches portion of the evening. Patrick Donnelly had arranged for me to speak about club maintenance and the importance of preserving traditions. The irony was perfect. When my name was called, I walked to the podium in my best suit, the same one I'd worn to my wedding 22 years ago. The room was full of Boston's elite, people who controlled billions of dollars and influenced major decisions. Tyler and Sarah sat at a prominent table near the front. I could see the confusion on their faces as they tried to figure out what I was doing there. Good evening, my name is Mike Sullivan, and I've been working here at the club for the past month as maintenance supervisor. Polite applause, some confused murmurs. This wasn't what they'd expected. I want to talk tonight about the importance of maintaining standards, not just physical standards, but moral ones. Tyler was frowning now, leaning forward in his chair. Sarah looked pale. You see, I've discovered that some members of this club have been using their positions for illegal activities, specifically insider trading involving pharmaceutical stocks and FDA approvals. You could have heard a pin drop. I have evidence that Tyler Morrison has been receiving inside information from pharmaceutical companies and using it to make illegal stock trades. The source of this information is Sarah Sullivan, my wife, who works in pharmaceutical sales and has access to confidential FDA communications. Tyler shot to his feet. This is ridiculous. Security. But Patrick Donnelly was already moving to the podium. Let the man finish. I opened the folder Frank had prepared and began reading specific dates, stock purchases, and FDA announcements. The pattern was undeniable. Tyler had been buying and selling pharmaceutical stocks with perfect timing, always just before major announcements. The total profit from these illegal trades is approximately $2.3 million over the past 18 months. The evidence has been compiled by former Boston police detective Frank Kowalski and is being forwarded to the Securities and Exchange Commission on Monday morning. The room erupted. Tyler was shouting denials, Sarah was crying, other members were talking loudly among themselves. But I wasn't finished. There's more. When I discovered their affair and started asking questions, Tyler Morrison and Sarah Sullivan conspired to frame me for domestic abuse. Their plan was to create false evidence of threatening behavior so that Sarah could divorce me and keep all the money they'd made from insider trading. I pulled out my phone and played the recording I'd made of their conversation at the club. Tyler's voice filled the room, clear and unmistakable, discussing how to manufacture evidence of abuse. When the recording finished, the silence was deafening. Tyler tried one last desperate move, lunging toward the podium. "You bastard, you're destroying everything." But Frank was there, having positioned himself near the front of the room. He caught Tyler's arm and twisted it behind his back with professional efficiency. "I'd stay calm if I were you, son. You're already looking at federal charges. Assault won't help your case." Sarah had collapsed into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Around the room, Boston's elite watched in fascination as two of their own were exposed as criminals. Patrick Donnelly took the microphone. "Tyler Morrison's membership in this club is hereby revoked, effective immediately. Security will escort him from the premises." As Tyler was led away, still shouting threats and denials, I looked out at the crowd. These people who had ignored me, dismissed me, treated me as invisible, they were all staring at me now with something approaching respect. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said into the microphone, "sometimes the help knows more than you think." I walked off the stage and straight out of the club, leaving behind 22 years of marriage, a daughter who had chosen sides against me, and a life that had never really fit. But I was taking something with me that I hadn't had in years: my self-respect. Frank was waiting in the parking lot, grinning like a maniac. "How do you feel?" I thought about it for a moment, listening to the chaos still echoing from inside the club. Like myself again. 3 months later, Tyler Morrison was indicted on 12 counts of securities fraud and insider trading. Sarah pled guilty to conspiracy charges and agreed to cooperate with federal prosecutors. She lost her job, her savings, and her reputation. Emma finally called me after the trial ended. She was crying, apologizing, asking if we could rebuild our relationship. I told her we could try. I kept working at the country club, eventually becoming the general manager when Patrick Donnelly decided he liked having someone around who understood the value of honest work. The pay was good, the work was satisfying, and I was treated with genuine respect. Sometimes I see Sarah around town. She works at a grocery store now, living in a small apartment, trying to rebuild her life. We nod politely when we pass, like acquaintances who used to know each other better. Tyler Morrison served 18 months in federal prison and was released last month. I heard he's working at his cousin's insurance agency in Worcester, selling policies to small businesses. The last time I saw him, he was pumping gas at a station in Framingham, looking older and smaller than I remembered. He didn't recognize me. I was driving a new truck, wearing a good suit, heading home to the house I'd bought with my severance package and the reward money the SEC had given me for exposing the insider trading scheme. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's just about truth finally winning out over lies. And sometimes the invisible man turns out to be the one who sees everything.